How big was the last check that you wrote to the IRS and what did you get back for it? That's the biggest question. If you're a US business owner paying 50,000 or more in taxes each year and your strategy is hoping that your CPA finds something in March for you, you're overpaying the government. This show is where we legally shrink that bill to keep more cash in your business. I'm Chris Middleton from Make Taxes Fair, and today we're breaking down the difference between tax preparation and tax planning. And I'll walk you through our clear edge framework so you can stop overpaying the IRS and stay audit proof. Stick with me to the end and you'll know exactly which levers to pull this year so the next April isn't another expensive surprise. Here's a secret that really shouldn't be a secret. Most business owners think they have a tax strategy, but what they really have is tax preparation. Tax preparation is looking in the rearview mirror. It's reporting history, gathering numbers, filling out forms, telling the IRS what happened last year. It's compliance, it's necessary, but preparation is not planning. Tax planning is proactive. It's looking forward. It's deciding in advance what moves to make so your tax bill comes out lower legally, ethically, with the right documentation. And this happens all year round, not just a mad scramble in March and April. If you've ever sat down with your CPA thinking, I hope they find something, you're already too late. By the filing deadline, many of the opportunities, the best opportunities, are gone. And the problem is most CPAs are set up for compliance, not proactive, ongoing tax strategy implementation and support. That's why so many business owners overpay, not because they're lazy, but because they're busy. You're busy as a business owner and you don't have a system. And more importantly, the CPA supporting you as a business owner doesn't have a system. They have tips, they have advice, but tips and advice are really no good if there's no system for implementation. And the truth of that is there's a lack of a system or a framework. You hear about other people using strategies like being taxed as an S Corp, or maybe you're doing some of these things, using the Augusta rule, doing cost segregation studies, capturing the research and development tax credits. But random tactics don't add up to a real strategy. You need to know what fits, where it fits, in what order it fits, and how to properly document it. That's why at Make Taxes Fair, we use the Clear Edge framework, our 9 pillars of tax planning that turn scattered ideas into a complete system. The Clear Edge framework consists of 9 pillars, and it stands for credits, legal structure, employees, accumulation of wealth, retirement planning. That's the clear. The edge is exit planning, deduction optimization, getting organized, and efficiency. That's the edge. I went over Clear Edge pretty fast, so let's break it down pillar by pillar, shall we? The first pillar in the Clear Edge framework is C for credit optimization. And many people know about deductions, right? Fewer understand credits. Deductions reduce your income, credits reduce your tax directly. And so how we identify and capture the credits that you want to qualify for needs to be identified before they expired or before the year ends. And the trick to capturing credits is to be proactive. Many tax credits get missed, especially at the state level. The next pillar in the Clear Edge framework is the L for legal structure. Is your business set up the right way for what you're trying to accomplish? Entity choice impacts how income flows, how you pay yourself, what strategies are available, and how much you may lose to self-employment and payroll taxes. Choosing the right entity at the right time is critical to optimizing your tax bill. The next pillar in the Clear Edge framework is the E for employees. Employees aren't just an expense line. Used correctly, benefits, compensation structure can help you reward, retain your team in tax-smart ways. And if you set up the right way, you as an owner can also be treated as an employee to take advantage of many of those same benefits. The next pillar in the Clear Edge framework is A for accumulation of wealth. Cutting taxes is part of the equation, right? That's step 1. But using those tax savings to build real wealth is step 2. In the accumulation of wealth pillar, we focus on turning tax savings into long-term assets instead of letting that money just quietly disappear down the drain into the abyss of government waste. The next pillar in the Clear Edge framework is the R for retirement planning. Smart retirement planning is one of the most powerful current year tax tools, right? The right plan can create deductions today and fund your retirement at the same time. It's closely connected to the pillars of accumulation of wealth, legal structure, and deduction optimization, and it's best executed in conjunction with those other pillars. The next pillar in the Clear Edge framework is E for exit planning. You can build a valuable business and then watch a painful chunk of that disappear to Uncle Sam as a stakeholder in the exit if you don't plan ahead. This pillar is about structuring your eventual exit so you can keep more of what you built. It's also an opportunity to look beyond the sandbox of tax planning and taxes to examine your business from an operations standpoint to see what changes can and should be made now to impact a more lucrative exit in the future. The next pillar in the Clear Edge framework is the D for deduction optimization. And this isn't just a buy more stuff play. It's about knowing what's deductible, how to structure and reimburse legitimate lifestyle expenses correctly, and how to document those expenses clearly so you don't lose legitimate deductions. This is an easy area in tax strategy implementation where we find thousands of dollars being wasted simply because business owners don't know what they're legally allowed to do. The next pillar in the Clear Edge framework is G for getting organized. Getting organized, strategy without documentation is weak. That's where audit defense really starts, is clean records, receipts, logs, written plans, systems to prove what you did and why. Getting organized may seem like a cliche thing to say, but there's enormous power in having clear organization that can give you peace of mind, that makes you both optimized and can defend your tax strategies in the event that you're ever questioned or audited. The final pillar in the Clear Edge framework is efficiency. When tax planning is approached with a framework, the entire system becomes apparent, and what you start to understand is the why behind the what. This helps you make the whole tax savings approach run as a repeatable system with a better cadence, periodic reviews, and systematic workflows to avoid tax panic. This is how you move from being reactive to intentional. And here's why all of this matters. Without a framework, taxes feel rushed, confusing, reactive. You're hoping that your CPA found everything and there's no ugly surprise. With a framework like the Clear Edge, you know where opportunities live, you know you're making moves throughout the year, and you're documenting as you go. And taxes become more of something that you manage instead of something that just happens to you. You may have heard me earlier say the A word, right? Yes, I said audit. So let's touch on the audit fear for a second. Sometimes when people hear tax strategy, they think risk. That's because they've seen aggressive, gimmicky things or they've heard of things that fall apart under scrutiny. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about legal, ethical, properly documented strategy, using the rules as they're written, not playing games with the government. When you do that with the good structure and records, that's exactly how you stay audit-proof and sleep at night. The truth of the matter is this. In over 20 years as a tax practitioner, I've come to realize there's far less gray area in the tax code. Many CPAs say, oh, we can't do that. That's in the gray area. What they should be saying is, oh, we can't do it that way because the rules are written to allow us to do it this way, not that way. I once sat down with a gentleman who was taking deductions of about $100,000 that were actually not legitimate deductions according to the rules. And I pointed those holes out to him and showed him how if an audit were to happen, those things would be disallowed. However, I followed that up by nearly doubling those deductions by showing him missed deductions and tax savings from the pillars of credits, credit optimization, legal structure, employees, and yes, deduction optimization. The end result was we saved him nearly $50,000 more in taxes than he had previously been paying, while eliminating audit risk, empowering him to understand, and not only giving him more money in his bank account, but also more peace of mind that he was truly optimized. So here's the biggest takeaway from today. If you only think about taxes when it's time to file, you're too late to get the best result. Compliance is necessary, but it's not a strategy. You need a framework that lets you plan ahead so you can reduce taxes legally, protect your profits, and build real wealth over time. That's what the Clear Edge framework gives you. And in future episodes, we'll be diving through these pillars and showing you strategies one by one that fit into each pillar to show you how they work in the real world. Armed with this knowledge, the next time you sit down to deal with your taxes, you won't just be filing forms, you'll be making strategic moves confidently. If this episode helped you reshape even one way of how you view taxes and might be overpaying the government, don't just nod and move on, right? That's how the government keeps winning. Go to maketaxesfair.com/podcast to get the show notes from today's show and a free action guide for this episode. We put together a resource that actually gives you a custom report specific to you and your business to evaluate your tax strength savings through the Clear Edge framework. The goal is to help you plug the leaks in your business. And again, that's at maketaxesfair.com/podcast. Friends don't let friends overpay the government once they know better. And if you found today's episode helpful in any way, we invite you to share this with a self-employed friend. I'm Chris Middleton. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you in the next episode.